Hey guys. All right. So today we're doing Unit 4, Lesson 2. I hope you guys were able to figure out the parallel perpendicular stuff from Wednesday. And yesterday you should have done any makeup test or test corrections that you need to do. I sent you an email about that, so make sure you're checking your email. Make sure you're getting your work done, okay? All right, so here we go. We're going to take notes on slope of parallel and perpendicular lines. We're going to work through these two lessons, so we need to go ahead and update our table of contents. So let's do that. I think I need to add lesson 1 back on here. So 4, 1 was linear transformations. Oops, I was not on the right key. I'll link that later. And today we're doing 4-2, which is slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay, and this is on slide 10. So highlight those words, click the little paperclip button, slides in this presentation, and we're linking it to slide 10. Apply. Okay, so you really need to make sure you're keeping your journal up to date. You should have already copied all these slides over so you have the notes. Remember, we have a journal quiz at the end of the 9 weeks. This last 9 weeks, I gave you the journal. This 9 weeks, I am not, okay? You need to be responsible for keeping your journal up. If you don't keep it up, then you're not going to do well, okay? That's a test grade. So make sure you're doing your journal. All right, so we're on slide 10. And here we go. So if we remember Slope Man, he helps us identify slope. I don't know if all of you guys know Slope Man, but we should know things about slope. You guys learned about slope in 8th grade, and so let's remember those things. So our positive slopes, we have some options over here. Our positive slopes are lines that increase. So that's this line right here. It's a line that's increasing. See how that's going up? All right, and then a negative slope is things that are decreasing, so they're things going down. So it's going to be this one right here. Again, if you remember Slope Man, you can draw him and help you remember. A zero slope means that there's no incline or decline at all. So it's just flat. Okay, it's like walking across the floor. It doesn't take any effort. So that's 0. Let me unplug this because I'm trying to think this might be. Why am I? And then an undefined slope is something that's straight up and down. It's like the wall. You can't walk up the wall. It's undefined. So we call this an undefined slope. So that's what this is right here. Straight up and down. So positive slope is increasing, a negative slope is decreasing, a zero slope is a horizontal line, it's like walking across the floor, and an undefined slope is when it's vertical, it's straight up and down, okay? All right, so here we go. We did some discovery on Wednesday, so hopefully you did that assignment and you turned it in. It's going to be a grade also. So we should have noticed on Wednesday when we did the will they meet part of the assignment that parallel lines will have the same slope. So on this assignment, or on these examples here, we have a couple of equations, and to be able to determine if they have the same slope, to be able to determine if they're parallel, I need to figure out, do they have the same slope? So first, on the first example here, sorry, I'm trying to get my iPad connected so I can work the example with you. There we go. I gotta find my pencil. Here we go. All right, so we have these first two examples. They don't look like y equals mx plus b. They're not in that form. So I need to get them in that form first. So my first equation is 9x minus 3y equals negative 81. The first thing I need to do is get y by itself, is I'm going to move the things that don't have y with it. So I'm going to move this 9x over. I'm subtracting because it's positive. To undo something positive, I have to subtract. So I'm going to subtract 9x from both sides. Draw my line here. 9x minus 9x is 0. That leaves me with a negative 3y here equals 81. The negative 81 does not have an x with it, so these are not like terms. So I have negative 9x minus 81. All right, y is still not by itself, but because negative 3 and y are right next to each other, I don't see a plus or a minus sign in between them. That's multiplication. To undo multiplication, we're going to divide. So I'm dividing by the thing we're multiplying by, which is negative 3. Negative 3 divided by negative 3. Anything divided by itself is 1. So this leaves me with 1y, but I don't have to write that 1 in front of the y, right? I can just write y. So y equals, then on the other side of the equation, I have negative 9 divided by negative 3. Well, negative divided by negative is a positive. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So that leaves me with 3x. Then I have negative 81 divided by negative 3. Again, negative divided by negative is a positive. 81 divided by 3 is what, 27? Let me double check myself there before I write it. I think so. 81 divided by 3, 27. Good. 27. Use your calculator, okay? You guys, everybody has a TI calculator on your Chromebook. You should be using that calculator or Desmos. Those are the only two things you should be using, okay? Don't use your computer calculator. Look on your Chromebook and go to the little, your little dock thing pulls up. Yours looks different than mine because I'm on a Mac. But your little dock thing pulls up and you have this search, like a little circle where you can search through your apps. If you open that up and type in TI, it'll pull up that TI calculator, open it, and then pin it to your dock, okay? So it's always right there. That's the calculator you should be using. Don't use your Chromebook calculator because it doesn't do all of the things you need it to do. Use that TI calculator, okay? All right, so my first equation, I have solved for y. It looks like y equals mx plus b now, and my m here is 3. So let's solve the other equation. I want to know if these two equations are parallel. So that means I want my second equation to have the same slope. All right, so we have 12x minus 4y equals 60. So I'm going to subtract 12x from both sides. 12x minus 12x is 0. That leaves me with negative 4y equals negative 12x plus 60. They're not like terms. I can't combine them, okay? All right, so then I need to get y by itself. I'm going to divide by negative 4 on both sides. So negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. I'm left with y over here. Negative divided by negative is a positive. 12 divided by 4 is 3, so I have 3x. And is that the same slope? Yes. So we answered the question? Yes. My slope is 3 for both of them, so it's so we're done. We know they're parallel. But let's go ahead and finish this out. 60 divided by 4, positive divided by negative is a negative, and then 60 divided by 4 is 15. Okay, so my equation here is 3x minus 15. Sorry, I got that slide. So my slope again is 3. Same slope. That means they're parallel. Okay, so over here, your slope is 3 for the first equation. It's 3 for the second equation. So we can say these are parallel lines. Okay, we have the same slope. They're parallel. All right, number 2. Let me pull this back up and pull my... Sorry, there we go. Moved it. Okay. Actually, look at this. This is easy. This is already set up as mx plus b. So the slope of my first line is 10. The slope of my second line is negative 10. Are those the same? No. No, they are not. One of them is positive. One of them is negative. Those are not the same number. They're on two different places in the number line, right? Two different places. We have positive 10 up here and negative 10 down here. There's 0 in the middle. Okay? So no, these are not parallel. So not the same. Not the same slope, so they are not parallel. Okay. All right. So these two equations we had to solve to get y by itself. We found out they had the same slope. Since the slope is the same, it's parallel. That means they're never going to touch. Okay. These two lines were already solved for y. I was able just to identify my slope right away. They're different. They're not the same exact number. One's positive, one's negative, so that means they are not parallel. So let's look at our next slide here. Now we're going to do perpendicular. Okay, so you should have noticed on your assignment from Wednesday on the discovery activity that when they made right angles, our perpendicular lines have to cross at a right angle. This is not perpendicular. Just because they're crossing doesn't mean they're perpendicular. They have to intersect at a right angle. It has to be like a perfect T or a perfect cross, okay? So they had to intersect at their 90-degree angle, and we should have noticed that they were opposite reciprocals. So what we did was we had our slope was flipped, and then we took the opposite sign. So if it was 2/3, we flipped it, and to be perpendicular, my second line had to be 3/2, but it had to be negative. So if it was positive 2/3 for this equation, my second equation had to be negative 3/2. Okay, so we're gonna see some examples here. All right, I'm gonna change to a different color because I don't thought green was a little bit weird. Okay, so again, we need to get y by itself, so we need to solve. There you go. So this first equation, we have x plus y equals 8. So I want to get x by itself. I want to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract x from both sides. So x minus x is 0. I have y equals negative x plus 8. So my slope here, m equals, there's a negative sign in front of x. The number right in front of x is my slope. So there's a negative sign there, and I have this understood number in between here. Even though I don't see it, it's there. So my slope is negative 1. Now I have the second equation, negative 2x equals 2y. Oh, wow, I wrote that wrong. Negative 2x plus 2y equals 10. There we go. To get y by itself, I'm going to add 2x to both sides. So we have 2y equals 2x plus 10. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 2 to get y by itself. So y equals 2 divided by 2 is 1. So y equals 2 divided by 2 is 1x plus 10 divided by 2 is 5. So my slope here is positive 1. Okay, so are these opposite reciprocals? So first, opposite. Do they have opposite signs? Do I have one that's positive and one that's negative? Well, this one's positive and this one is negative. So they are opposite. So these are my two questions. Opposite? Yes, they are. And then reciprocal means, are they the flip of each other? So did I take my fraction and flip it? Well, I have two whole numbers. They're not written as fractions, right? So let's think about this for a second. Can I rewrite negative 1 as a fraction? Yes, I can rewrite it by dividing it by 1. So that gives me negative 1 divided by 1. And then over here, if I took that negative 1, I made it positive to get to the new slope, right? And then if I flipped it, I would end up getting 1 over 1. Well, if I turn 1 into a fraction, it would be 1 over 1. So are they reciprocals of each other? Yes, 1 divided by 1 is 1. So for a slope of 1, as long as one of them is positive and one of them is negative, this only works when it's 1. Okay, it doesn't work if it's 2 or 3 or 4. If it's 1, as long as one is positive and one is negative, they are perpendicular. It's opposite reciprocals. Okay, so this first one is negative 1. The second one is positive 1. So they are perpendicular. They are perpendicular. Okay. All right. Over here, we are already solved for x. We are already solved for y for both equations. So my slope of the first line is negative 5. So the slope of the second line is 1/5. Well, 1/5. So are they perpendicular? I want to bring my, that's not what I wanted. I want to bring this back up, sorry. Okay, so one of them is 5, negative 5, and the other one is 1/5. So I want to focus on this negative 5. If I took the opposite sign, would it be positive or negative? Well, if it's already negative, the opposite of that is positive. So I'm looking for positive. Okay, this is positive. It is positive. That works. And then I want to flip it. So to turn a whole number into a fraction, I can write it over 1. So if I flip that fraction, instead of having 5 over 1, I'm going to write 1 over 5. So I'm so in order to be perpendicular to negative 5, my slope has to be 1/5, positive 1/5, and that's what it is. So it's opposite and it's reciprocal. So over here, we are perpendicular. So what we're doing is, for here, I'm going to add a little text box right here. So for opposite, it's going to be one of them has to be positive and the other one has to be negative. That's what we're talking about for opposite. Then reciprocal, we're talking about, is it flipped? So if we wrote it as a fraction, did we flip the fraction? Okay. Let me change these colors. Yeah, there we go. That makes it kind of stand out, right? Okay. So opposite means one has to be positive, the other one has to be negative. And flipped, reciprocal means that the number has been flipped. Okay. So when we write it as a fraction, did we flip the fraction? That's what we're looking for. All right. So now we have x equals 8 and y equals 2. And here I want to talk about something called Hoy-Bucks. So I'm going to write this up here. Hoy-Bucks. Hoy-Bucks. Okay. Actually, I'm going to write it this way. Hoy-Bucks. So Hoy-Bucks means, what does it mean, the screen? I'm so curious. I'm trying to move this up so we can see it. Oh, I don't need that to be that big. There we go. Okay. Hoy-Bucks means H stands for, let me stop typing in caps, horizontal. So if I have a horizontal line, that means my slope is 0. So I have a 0 slope. So if I have a horizontal line, I have a 0, that means it's a 0 slope. And that means my equation will be y equals equation. It will be y equals something. So it also works the other way. If I have y equals something, that means my slope is going to be 0. That means my line is going to be horizontal. Okay. So out of these two equations, I have one that says y equals something. So here, my slope is 0. So for the second equation, I'm going to go ahead and put, well, my slope is 0 because it says y equals. I'm going to use Hoy-Bucks. Okay. So I have a slope of 0. Now we have Bucks. V means if we have a vertical line, so straight up and down, it's a vertical line, then that means it's an undefined slope. Undefined slope. And that means we're going to have an x equals equation. Oops. X equals equation. So if it's horizontal, the slope is 0. That means it's an equation has to be y equals. All right. If it's a vertical line, then it's an undefined slope. That means the equation has to be x equals. So here we have y equals, that slope was 0. Here we have x equals, my slope is undefined. Undefined. So now I'm going to jump over to Desmos really quick. Update later. Go away. I'm going to jump over to Desmos really quick. And I want to talk about these lines. I want to just look at them. So we had y equals, I don't remember what it was. Y equals 2 and x equals 8. So y equals 2. There's that line. X equals 8. There's that line. So Let me put these in projector mode so they're a little bit thicker. Okay, so the black line is my y equals, it's horizontal. The red line is my x equals, it's a vertical slope. It's a vertical line, it's undefined slope. So this is what a zero slope line looks like. This is what a undefined slope line looks like. So are these 90 degrees? Are they perpendicular? They obviously look like they're perpendicular, right? If I type these in, yes, they look like definitely they're crossing at intersections, and we know these crosshairs are perpendicular. They're squares, so they're perpendicular. So yes, this is perpendicular. We can also, let me come back to my notes over here, and let me pull up my XML screen. So we can also think about this mathematically if you care about the reasoning behind this. If I have a slope of 0, then if I turn that into fraction, if I put it over 1, that's what it looks like. If I flip that, then I'm dividing by 0, and mathematically I'm not allowed to do that. We would say this is undefined. We're not allowed to divide by 0, so we undefined. So that means the opposite reciprocal of a 0 slope is an undefined slope, okay? So over here we are going to say that these are perpendicular. All right, number 4. This is a 1/4 slope. This is a -4 slope. So they have opposite signs. They are opposite. And are they reciprocals? Well, if I made -4 a fraction, it would be -4 over 1. And if I flip that, it would be 1 over 4. So yes, these are perpendicular as well. Oops, here we go. They are perpendicular. Okay, so we are going to talk about this on Monday, actually on Tuesday, I think. So there's lesson 2. We'll move on to lesson 3 on Tuesday. On Monday, we're going to do task cards. So there will be an assignment posted for Monday. If you haven't already, then I want you to, you need to make sure you do the Make It Right activity and turn that in. That is going to be your grade. The second thing I want you to do is the Escape the Haunted House. So this is just a fun little activity if you haven't already worked through it. This is just a fun way to help you like really understand parallel and perpendicular. This is not a grade, but this is just something fun to do. So you're just going to click on this. It's going to start it. It says, boo, here's a little ghost. Yay, so cute. I'm trapped in this haunted house with giant spiders. You may be able to help us escape. I will give you a question in each room. Okay, so this is an escape room. You're going to work through the escape room, okay? Use your mouse to touch and click. Do not use the keyboard. So you're just going to click. It's going to start, and it's going to give you a question. So he says, if one line has a slope of 1/2 and another line has a slope of 1/2, are the two lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? And you need to select the door that you think is true. Well, these two things are the same. They have the same slope. So since they have the same slope, they are parallel. We're going to click here. Okay, good job. All right. Then we have 1/3 and 3/2. Are they the same? No. Are they flips of each other? Well, if I took 1/3 and flipped it, it would be 3 over 1. If I simplified that, that's just 3. That's 3 over 2. So I'm going to say neither. Yay, great job. We got it right again. Okay, if you get it wrong, so let's see. I'm going to say these are parallel, even though they're not the same. One was positive, one was negative. Oh no, it says try again. So it's going to bring me right back to that question. Okay, I answer that question and keep going. So it's not going to make you start all over. It's going to take you right back to the question you messed up on. Okay, so work through that. Do it a couple times until you like really understand, okay, the same slope has to be parallel, opposite reciprocal. The opposite reciprocal is what I'm really worried about. Make sure you understand that. So practice this. Do it over and over. If you have questions, please reach out to me and let me know. This is an area where we struggle a lot, and I don't want us to struggle, okay? I think this assignment will help you if you work on it, all right? All right, y'all have a good day, and I will see you later.